Everyone, welcome to another late night live stream with me and Housing Stig, Alex. But before we go to Alex, I just wanted to thank all of you who have wished me well and said well done and keep going and everything through this tough move that I've had recently. For those of you who don't know, this is Anne-Marie, who is the power behind everything that I do. You say hi.
Hi.
I'm going to be skewered alive for making her do this afterwards.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say thank you, because I don't know anyone else who wouldn't have just freaked out and had meltdowns. And the only reason I've managed to keep anything going and keep the show on the road is because of everything that you've done. So thank you. And congratulations on our new home.
I can't wait.
And thank you for this jacket.
You're welcome.
Which made Lawrence Fox fancy me. And thank you seriously for everything. You know, guys, even on Sunday, before we had a new home and we were feeling like at rock bottom, we decided to go out for a special lunch somewhere that's one of our favorite places. We all got I've got a lovely old 1980s classic Merc. We got in it, and it's about half an hour drive to get there. And about 10 minutes into the drive, for the first time in 7 years, it broke down. It let me down. It just really felt like a rock bottom moment, didn't it? Like, even this isn't going right.
But we still got there. We still had a nice day.
We did get there. It was amazing. We had a nice day. And that's what's amazing. Like, no matter what life throws at us, you just keep smiling and going, whatever, what the fuck, we'll just keep going. And that makes everything manageable. Thank you. You're amazing. Cheers. I love you. Now, if I haven't made everyone throw up, thank you, Emery. See this, you're going to go and watch now?
No, I'm going to read my book.
Okay, thanks. Right, Alex, I hope that wasn't nauseating for anybody, but where are you, Alex? You there?
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, mate. Good evening, everybody. Now, I promised to have had some alcohol this evening, and I have had a little bit, but not enough, so I'm going to try and catch up.
Are you behind me?
I am behind you. It's been something of an evening, family-wise, children, that kind of stuff. So how far in are you?
Quite well into the second bottle.
Okay, all right. Well, you're well ahead of me. Although I won't need as much as you do. It doesn't take much. I am a cheap date. I'm just going to move that camera slightly. Right, everybody. Thank you for giving us your time on a Friday evening. I'm sure you have a lot of better things to do. But Alex and I were having a disagreement earlier today.
We were.
And we're still having that disagreement. It's only on one very minor point, but whoever's right, it makes a very big difference to what inflation might do. So, I'll take my jacket off, actually. It's really a bit warm in here. What I'm going to do, I sent everyone a link, and there's a link in the description below to one of Sasha Yanchin's videos that he put out a couple of days ago about why the UK, he's done a lot of videos on why the UK mortgage market is completely fucked. But let me just play you this clip. It's about 2 minutes, but it's important because it's the background and context of our whole conversation, mine and Alex's whole conversation. So let me just get him up here and play him and see what he's got to say. Hang on a second.
Where the services part of inflation is not going down because of wage pressure. This is what a wage price spiral looks like. Wages are increasing. You can see the problem on this chart from the Office of National Statistics, and the pace of increases is itself increasing. This is a really big problem because the upward pressure on inflation is now following a non-linear upward trajectory. And I cannot stress enough how massive this problem is. And even worse than that, wage growth has now outpaced overall inflation for the first time in this whole crisis. And if you look at yesterday's inflation data, pretty much the entire drop in inflation can be attributed to just 3 things. 1, food is not going up in price quite as insanely as it was in the previous month. 2, communication costs are down. And 3, housing costs have come down because the energy price cap went down in July. But here is the issue. If you look at the parts of inflation where wages are a significant part of the total cost, inflation on these is staying flat, or actually is going up overall, not coming down. Restaurants and hotels up from 9.5 to 9.6%. Health up from 8.2 to 8.9%. Education stays flat at 3.2%. And recreation and culture is marginally down from 6.7 to 6.5%. If you look at the all services line, the UK's inflation data has increased from 7.2 to 7.4%. It's gone up. The month-to-month is growing at 1.0% in July 2023. If you annualize 1.0%, you get 12.7%. So services inflation in July ran at an annualized rate of almost double what it went up by in the previous 12 months. This is an extremely dangerous scenario, and I know that there will be someone in the comments section who will say that the wage growth data is bullshit because they did not see an increase, and the 4 people that they know have told them that they didn't get a bump either. And this is because the reality is even more stark than the data. The reality is that the 7.8% average wage increase is made up of a whole load of people getting pay increases of 10% or more, with other sectors or other companies running behind. And these other companies are about to see their employees absolutely lose their shit when they can't afford to pay their mortgage or pay their rent or feed their kids, and they will see those employees demand things. They will see those employees leave. They will see employees demand pay increases. Those employees will proactively start looking for new jobs. The companies will proactively start hiking pay.
Right. So that is the point on which we disagree, right? So can I just check that I understand your point of view, which is you agree with everything he said except for that very last part?
I agree with most of what he said, except particularly for the last part.
Okay. Is there anything in that clip he said, apart from the bit at the end, which we'll come on to, that you don't agree with?
Patricia actually spotted it immediately. Confusing inflation and prices going up. But let's not worry about that. It doesn't make an awful lot of difference. What he's saying is correct in terms of those figures. But he does appear to believe that private companies, because we know that public sector pay is not keeping pace with inflation. The government, that's what the government has control of. But private sector pay in certain sectors and industry groups has and will indeed beat inflation. But he seems to think that across all sectors, companies have an unlimited pool of money that they're going to be able to keep raising wages, and that employees, and some of them will be dumb enough. But if you have a secure job at the moment and your boss says, I'm sorry, you're only getting a 4% rise, not a 10% one, I think you'd be fairly mad to walk out and try and find something else, because the market is going to turn very quickly.
But you do it the other way around. You wouldn't walk out and then find something else. You'd find something else and then walk out.
Good luck with that.
No, but he goes on to say that that's the point. There are still a lot of high-paying jobs.
Yes. Sorry. And again, as I just said, it all depends on the sector. If you are in finance and insurance, or if you are a professional in science and tech, there's plenty of money to be made for the guy who's already earning 60, 70, 80, 90,000 a year, or even 150,000 a year with £1 million bonus. However, for all of the rest of the people in sectors like, construction, retail, transport and storage, property, now might not be the time to do that. And there are more people in those sectors than there are in the higher paying ones.
Right. Okay. I don't disagree, but here's the point where I do disagree with you, right? I have a fairly deep and passionate dislike of institutions, especially corporations. And the reason that I have such a deep and passionate dislike for institutions and corporations is that, with almost no exceptions, nobody is ultimately responsible for anything.
That's true.
Someone might occasionally lose their job, but that's the beauty of a corporation. Basically, people get fired from time to time, but no one ever actually has to own mistakes.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's wrong with the whole way we do business these days.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what does that mean now? Well, it means that, all the corporations that I've worked with and had as clients, so I'm speaking here from some frontline experience of my own, tend to agree their budgets for departments quite a long way in advance. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They would normally do budgets August, September time, get them approved so they've got the new money ready for financial year in April.
Okay. And would you agree with this statement, which is that the hiring and firing manager of any department has absolutely zero connection or responsibility to the department that is making sure that there is actually money to pay payroll?
Sorry, run through that.
Would you agree that the hiring manager of a particular department,
yes,
isn't worried about whether there's money to pay them or not? He's just doing his job. That's not his fucking problem, right? The money's there as far as he's concerned. He doesn't know what the balances are. He doesn't know what the cash flow of of this large corporation is. His job is to hire and fire and maintain his department.
No, but he will.
Right?
So, okay, they'll be coming up with budgets for next year, starting now through until about October. They will then be submitting them, and they will go up to the C-suite, at which point the C-suite will turn around and go, and the CFO will take one look and go, fuck right off. You said you need 10 extra headcount, or you need to raise salaries this much. Oh, I think we could lose Jones. Jones can fuck off.
Right.
There's no chance they get through, which is why by April, those budgets just won't be there.
By April? I don't disagree that, and this is we've got to dovetail this back into the inflation conversation, and the timing of this watermelon implosion is a really good point, right? But you also told me that in 2008, corporation pay, and freelance pay carried on going up long after the financial crash had happened for about another year. Pay rises were going up.
It was for a different reason.
You did say that, didn't you?
Yeah, no, that's true, but it's for a different reason. Unemployment normally, you're quite right. Unemployment rises after everything has exploded, and during that sort of period in the middle, it would continue. However, the reason is different this time in that I believe, and it's the thing I've hammered on about for the last year, it's all about debt.
Yes, I will come to that. Right, I'll come to that. By the way, are you okay with this heading on the screen?
What is it?
Tell me if not. I'll take it off. It's to the bottom there now. So we'll leave it there so when people join.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yep. So I want to not jump around. I want to try and have this debate in a chronological order.
Yeah.
Where I think we are agreed in the end, the ultimate outcome. The only place we do this is the timing of certain things and the reason for that timing. Now, what I'm saying is that any company in the business of delivering any product or service that requires staff in the delivery and the fulfillment of that service, the only way to lose money faster than being unprofitable is to not have people delivering your service. Like, that is a faster way to go out of business than just not making a profit.
Well,
so,
no.
Let me finish. Okay, you disagree, I hear, but this is my opinion, right? It's like,
okay,
if you're selling widgets and the man whose job it is to hand the widgets out says, give me 10% for a pay rise or I'm going to fuck off, it's more expensive to let him go and replace him with someone cheaper than it is to give him his 10% pay rise. And you've got to have someone handing out the widgets. You can't afford the disruption to service, right? So in these any corporation where the people are essential to the product to service, there are departments that are going to start to go, for sure. I don't dispute that, right? There are departments that are not delivery critical and they're going to go there. In fact, they probably already started going, some of those departments. Yeah. But whatever business or company, whatever is in the business of delivering, you've got to have the teams to deliver it, unless it's pure tech, of course. That's a separate, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that the tech company is doing so well. They haven't got this fucking problem, which is when your team turns around and goes, inflation, my mate in the other company, getting headhunters calling me every day, I think I need 12% or I'm off. Your hiring manager is going to say, okay, because he hasn't got to go to the C-suite to get that signed off. Because he's just got the budget for the year, and you have a churn of staff during the year. So whilst we'll come on to the debt problem in a minute, because I think you're absolutely right. But my point is, it sounds like what you're saying is the company's going, well, because we've got so much debt and we can't service anymore, we're going to start being really sensible and paring back on our costs. Corporations aren't that fucking clever.
No, you've missed. No, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is when demand falls. We had this conversation earlier, and you can see it in the retail sales figures.
Yeah.
They are selling lower volumes of goods, which means lower volumes of goods need to be produced. Otherwise, you have waste.
Yeah.
And when that happens, let's pretend you had 10 people handing out 1 million widgets. Well, if you're only selling 500,000 widgets, you don't need 10 people.
Agreed.
At which point you start cutting your costs, because you talk about how to go out of business quickly. One of them is to have massive costs that are providing no profit.
Absolutely. I think that's a separate problem. If people have got surplus headcount, that's going to be dealt with, I think, quite quickly. But that's not being reported in many places, right? There's still not yet. And I want to discuss with you what the timing is, what yet means, and how far away yet is, because it is less expensive to give someone the pay rise they're asking for, assuming that they are a functioning and productive individual who's been at the company for a while, knows the systems, doesn't need to be retrained. Any new person you have to bring in has got to be retrained, inducted.
Oh, yeah, they cost a fortune.
So it is cheaper to give the pay rise.
But they've already been doing
it. And what all the big companies do is there's no one department that's got the job of keeping the company solvent. That is a C-suite problem.
Yeah, but
Charlie, and so they will, like Wilco, they'll go on training, and they go, right, bang, administrators. They won't do what I think you're suggesting doing. I mean, some will, but and who knows? Well, it's going to be fascinating to see. And actually, weirdly, you're being more bearish than I am. I'm saying I'm actually going with what you've always said, which is everything takes ages to die. It clings on by its fingernails forever. And companies are going to do that. And they're going to try and restructure their debt. And they're going to renegotiate their debt. And they're going to fuck around. And they're going to start to do dodgy accounting practices. And they do anything to stay alive.
They've been doing that for the last 13 years. Well, the point is, GDP has not gone up. Yet pay rises have not just started. This isn't a new thing. The pay rises have been happening for the last 18 months. Bosses now have run out of money. You say the hiring managers have, the ability to sign off on the original budget. That's fine. That's true. But that budget's gone. The bosses I've spoken to tell me that they are now looking at, if somebody comes to them for a pay rise, the next person who comes is going to be them looking at outsourcing. They literally don't have the cash. So I do believe that it's going to be slow to begin, but before Christmas, we are going to see unemployment increase and redundancies increase.
Well, I agree. That's going to happen at a national level. But again, those are the averages, right? Remember what we discussed, and I think we're in total agreement about the fact that the average doesn't mean fuck all, really.
No.
But let's hit the scenario, the scenario of Jones, right? Let's say that rather than Jones waiting to be told he can be let go by the C-suite guy who doesn't like him anymore, let's say Jones turns around to his hiring manager and says, I've been offered 12% by competitor A, B, and C over the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to pay me 12% or I'm going. And hiring manager says, okay, one sec, let me just go and talk to my boss. And the hiring manager goes up and says, boss, Jones says if we don't give him 12%, he's going to fuck off. And if he fucks off, it'll cost us a lot more than 12% of his salary. A lot more. And so if we're fucked for cash, we need to keep Jones. Because letting him go will literally cost more money if you have to replace him.
If you have to replace him.
Yeah. Those are the only ones I'm talking about, obviously.
Yeah, but Charlie, if you talk about corporations as these faceless beasts where no one's accountable, and at the same breath, you think that they actually work this stuff through. Whereas the reality is they turn around and go, well, I had a department of 20 people, but I managed to streamline it down to 4. And of course, they're just as productive as the 20 were because I'm the best boss in the world, whilst the entire thing falls apart. I think you're putting too much store on the fact that people believe that the employees are valuable.
No, I agree with you that if Jones says, "Oi, I've been offered 12% and he's not valued," they're going to say, "Bye-bye, good luck." But I'm talking about the people, the companies that have currently got vacancies that they can't fill. And I've got people saying, I'm being offered more over the road. Those companies will give a pay rise rather than let them go.
Yeah, you have seen that the vacancies are falling dramatically.
I have seen that, and I agree with you where we're heading. I don't dispute at all the debt levels or that it's going to make masses of companies implode. And there are so many innocent people who are going to get caught in the collateral of these blasts as they start to happen. It's going to be horrible. And if I was an employee of a large corporation, I would be taking a real keen interest in that company's debt position, interest rates, etc. And I would be checking my options rather than just waiting to see what happened. I really would. I wouldn't just be hoping that, oh, well, I've been there for 5 years, so it's probably going to be fine. Hopefully I'll be fine. I'd be wanting to know how stable my employer was. But I mean, every single large, I mean, what was it? Was it Capita?
Yeah.
That just went boom, right? They carried on paying more and more and more and more and more until it went bang. That's what these faceless, where no one takes responsibility for anything, corporations do. They just, they might have downsizing things going on, but that's not reactive. That's when they decide, okay, we're going to streamline the department next year. But most of them will just keep on going. Like Twitter was going to go, but Apple was about to go into, it was 90 days away from bankruptcy when they gave it back to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know that fucktard from Pepsi that was running Apple, right? Who fired Steve Jobs. Sorry. It's kicking in. I mean, what an arsehole, right? He fires him, turns Apple into just a meaningless corporation. It's planing like for bankruptcy. That's what they all do because no one's got any fucking bollocks. Not only that, no one is motivated to take the difficult decisions in large corporations. And so everyone goes, it's not my fucking problem, it's someone else's department. I'll just keep on going. I'll keep on doing it until they tell me it's over. And that's what's going to happen. So people are going to keep on hiring for another year and giving pay rises for a while. Obviously, different companies, different timescales. But generally speaking, I think we're going to continue to see pay rises for a while because these fucking companies, like...
So how long is for a while?
Right, okay. That's a good question. It obviously, it's going to change. It's different for each company. What you mean is how long until a tipping point is reached that causes inflation to fall off a cliff, including wage price inflation. That's the trillion-pound question. What's the UK's debt? It is trillions, isn't it?
Our public debt is about 2.4 trillion.
Right.
Our private debt is for households, not including student loans, 1.8 trillion. We've got 200 billion of student loans. So take that up from 1.8 to 2 trillion. And on top of that, we have all the company debt, which we'll get onto because you're talking about large corporates and over 5 million people are employed by small and medium enterprises. And I did send you an interesting piece about what the Bank of England thought would happen to them.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And okay, so, but it's funny because the tables have turned here. I'm the one telling you, but they're going to cling on for longer than you think.
Yes, it is the first time. I've warned you that everything will be slower, but there's only two options. And Charles Archer, one of your followers, who is, a stock analyst by trade, that's his business, and a few others who are, qualified professional economists. We've had this conversation because I've always thought that the Bank of England terminal rate would be between 5 and 6%, simply because the debt for corporations would be unmanageable at that point, and consumer spending would fall as wages fell and redundancies rose. And they persuaded me. They were talking 8% originally, and then they've now revised, and we sort of agreed a middle ground, which was, I still think that the terminal rate will be 6% or lower, but there is the possibility it could get to 7. I really can't see anything above that. But bear in mind, that's predicated on what will happen. And this is, when we came into this year, interest rates, so only 8 months ago, interest rates were only 2.5%, I believe.
Yeah.
They have gone up, 2.75% since then, and we haven't felt the effect yet. Yes, companies have been holding on to their staff and they've been paying the increases whilst they wait for the economy, but GDP is going nowhere other than fucked.
Okay. So let's just remind everyone what it is we're debating here. You think inflation is going to come down sooner and faster than Sasha Yanshin does because you disagree with his point that people are going to keep on paying up to keep their employees. Correct. I think that the companies, they'll keep going until they actually go bang, because no one will make the judgment call. So I think it'll be a while longer. I don't know how much longer it's going to be. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
In which case, you understand that pushes out house price falls.
Yes, I do understand. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Because, if wages, people, and this is where Mr. Zooplerman, whose name I've forgotten,
Richard Donnell.
Yeah. Everyone's taken the piss out of him for saying that interest rates don't matter and so on and so forth. He's actually not that wrong. Mortgage interest rates do matter. Of course they do. They certainly matter a lot to first-time buyers and people on average wages. But overall, they are not the driver of house prices. No. Wages are the driver of house prices.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you're right and companies continue to hold on and they continue to keep wage inflation to the point where real wages are actually matching inflation or beating it, house prices won't fall. Russell Quirk may end up being right in the short to midterm.
Right. Well, that's a prospect I can't bear, actually.
No, well, correct. I'd rather stab myself in the eyes with a blunt spoon.
I can't bear his crowing. But so okay, let's just be clear then. So you think inflation is going to drop very fast and even possibly turn negative?
No, well, no. I mean, putting words in my mouth there.
Well, no, I'm asking.
No, I mean, that was worst case scenario. I mean, if you look at a whole range of indicators globally, the threat has got to be deflation and has been for a long time. It's just there was always going to be a cycle of inflation first.
Yes.
But if you look at the demand, if you look at manufacturing, if you look at the PPI, even ours, and people are going, oh, it's brilliant. The producer price index, falling. This is great. Well, yeah, it is. It is kind of great if prices actually come down for people buying stuff, which we're not seeing yet. But what it's saying is demand is dropping. And if demand is dropping, supply will naturally be cut back so that prices can be retained because everyone loves a profit. And if supply is cut back, people lose jobs.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a very, very delicate topic of conversation, and we're talking about people's livelihoods and families and ability to pay their rent, like pay their mortgages. Like Sasha said, a lot of people. I think he said 200 in that video. And guys, I'd recommend watching that video from start to finish. It's about 12 minutes long. The link is below. He talks about 200,000 British mortgage payers a month coming off their fixed rate.
That's about right. Yep.
And he goes on to say that it is a plain and obvious mortgage crisis in the making that hasn't yet happened, but is going to happen.
No, but Charlie, this is where Mr. Donnell is correct, and I'm afraid Sasha is overplaying his hand here. Although I quite like the fact that Sasha's name is actually Alex by the fact that it's Sasha. So we can argue, the Alexes can argue this, in that there are a lot of young people, and by young I mean anyone under 50, because let's face it, we're fucking old. There are a lot of young people who have quite large mortgages in comparison with their salaries, and therefore they will be hurt. At the same time, the younger they are, the longer they can extend the term of their mortgage. And there are now the ability to go interest only, which is going to save up the trouble for when they are pension age. But they do have the ability to go to a 40-year mortgage or perhaps even longer. And so the mortgage crisis is not the bomb. Interest rates are important. They are a brake or a catalyst, an accelerant to...
But they are, you said repeatedly that that's one of the things sucking money out of the economy.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, yes. But... And yes, for those people on mortgages, but as we can see, it doesn't impact the people who don't have a mortgage. There, it's only other debts. And the most important thing is corporate debts. Right. Interest rates for mortgages are kind of important. They are. They're certainly if you're of a certain age and have a certain lifestyle. But interest rates for the government, for companies that have debt and have to pay wages, for every other type of debt, including student loans, That's where they really matter. That's where they're really sucking the money out of the economy, because all the people with mortgages will do is extend the term of their mortgage. As stupid as that may be, they will do that. And so it's not going to cause the crisis. The crisis will be the zombie companies who could only survive because the interest rate on their debt was 2%.
All right. It's funny. This is a fascinating conversation because, I mean, first-time buyers make up over 50% of transactions typically.
Yeah. You end up with a totally stagnant market.
Right. It was not just stagnant. Like first-time buyers underpin the Ponzi, right? And if the amount that they're being offered to be lent has reduced, which it has, because by your own graph, when the interest rates are high, they extending their mortgage doesn't actually get them that much.
But they won't be allowed to buy. They'll live with parents. They will literally just, you know how at the moment, I can't remember the exact number, but it's around somewhere between 28 and 30% of 20 to 34-year-olds live with their parents.
I'm sorry. I've only just realized, forgive me. Someone's just complimenting your voice. And I wait. I have seen this chap a couple of times, and I've only just noticed that the name must be a
Slice of toast. How did you not see that?
I thought he was a Polish guy. Oh God.
Yes.
Anyway.
Dzień dobry.
Anyway. You see, first-time buyers are the
lifeblood of the
right.
They move it,
and they've reduced in number, and the amount that they can pay has reduced as well. They're being competed with by downsizing boomers, which is really unfair. It's almost like it's the final crowning turd from the boomers to the Gen Zers and the millennials. Not only have we sucked up all the wealth, I don't blame boomers individually, but as a cohort, I can see that this argument, right? We're now going to sell our multi-million pound pads that we can't afford to heat anymore and come down and buy your first-time homes with cash and stop you buying them.
But that's the whole point. And again, old Donald, as much as people take the piss, I think we all agreed, the three of us, when we had that conversation, that he was absolutely right, that the number of transactions was going to fall through the floor.
Which it is.
And part of that will be first-time buyers not buying, obviously. And what you end up with is the old people, the boomers, will not be selling their multi-million pound pads because they'll have their adult children living with them who will pay for the heating whilst also doing some chores.
Look at this. Look at the comment on the screen now. Aaron Hughes.
Yep.
27.
There you go.
Returning to expensive. Yeah.
And then the only sales in the market will be deaths, debt, and divorce.
Yeah.
And that's such a small number, it will reduce the prices, but very, very slowly. I mean, over decades.
So, when do you think the corporate debt time bomb is going to go off and cause this sudden spike in, or this sharp increase in unemployment?
Right. So there's two things here. As we just discussed, beginning of the year, I think it was 3%, could have been 2.5%, can't remember. We started the year at 2.5% coming in. And it takes from... No, sorry. Bank of England interest rate.
Really? 2.5% in January?
Yeah.
I think 5.25 now.
That's the conversation we just had, mate. I know we've both been drinking, but... Do you want to look it up for me, or shall I look it up?
I'll look it up. You keep talking.
So, it takes, from all the analysis that I did looking to build that model, 8 months for the interest rate really to filter through. Now, it takes much longer than that in total. It takes 18 months for the full effects to be felt, but after 8 months, you get a really good feel. Now, that suggests that at the moment, we're only really suffering under 2.5% to 3%. And that's why wages are still going up.
No, January rates were 4%.
No, they weren't. They weren't 4%.
According to the Bank of England's own website, March 4.25. Hang on, I can't get it to
January. Go to January.
24th of February, 4%.
So they were
3.5% on the 9th of January.
Okay, so we will just have felt 3.5%, which was, if you remember, all the way back in August of last year.
Yeah.
3.5% was the maximum rate that I said was tolerable with the amount of debt we had. Oh, by the way, Monkey Tennis, I'm not backtracking in any way, shape, or form. If you can look at my tweets, you'll find about 1,000 of them that say wages are most closely correlated. If wages don't fall, house prices won't fall. But that's by the by. Which means that by Christmas, we should be experiencing something that is unmanageable for companies. So I think we're going to start to see major issues before Christmas. So in the next 4 months.
You're expecting the corporate debt time bond to go off in the next 4 months?
Certainly for small and medium-sized enterprises. You're right, for large companies, it always takes a while for them to be, but that's still hundreds of thousands and potentially millions of people in SMEs that are going to be impacted.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your best case scenario for inflation?
But there is no best case scenario.
Let me rephrase that question. What is your expectation of how long it takes for inflation to get back to 2%?
If what I think will happen happens, inflation will be back at 2% relatively early to mid next year.
Okay, sort of Q2-ish.
Yeah, maybe a few months later, but not long. Inflation will literally, as I think I put in one of the tweets, will be sucked into the vacuum of space.
Okay.
Once companies start folding, if the FTSE has fallen nearly 10% from its February high, already, and my projection back in August was that we could potentially see the FTSE at less than 4,500.
Yeah. So you think, okay, and there are other people I've seen saying it's going to happen in September, late September.
I think we are just looking at what's happening around the world at the moment. You saw Evergrande filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You've seen the US. The Bank of America made the statement. Interest rates aren't going down.
Get used to fight.
You've seen that the Mart and Par banks, which are the ones that were always in trouble, are still. Sorry?
Are they the shadow banks?
I don't know where the word shadow comes from, but they're the small,
regional.
Yeah, they're not GSIBs. They're just little banks, but they lent a lot of 30-year fixed rate mortgages at 2.5%, and they also lend to small businesses and all that sort of good stuff. They're still, much as PacWest was the last one that died. They're still looking really shaky.
Mm-hmm.
And all it's going to take is one event, and that will have ramifications over here as well.
Right.
Do I think that'll happen before Christmas? Yeah, I do. Will it be fully fledged? Will it be, the full grown thing? No, that's next year. We've always said the worst falls are in 24. Yeah. But I think wages so here's my bet with you. Real wages will be under inflation, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Negative.
By New Year.
Okay. Real wage growth will be lower than inflation. You mean the headline inflation, right? By New Year.
Correct.
So the January's reading.
Correct. Even December I'd go with.
Because they're kind of at par at the moment, aren't they? They're rough.
Yeah, I mean, this was the thing. What precipitated all of this was back in October of last year. I worked out that we were 2.7. Real wages had fallen 2.7%.
Yeah.
Now, the last time they fell that far that fast was in 2009,
Yeah.
as everything fell apart.
Okay.
In the UK.
Yeah.
However, since then, the gap, and if you look at the projections that we discussed and I created for the model, the projection was by the end of this year there'd be 5.5% down. Real wages will be 5.5% down.
Yeah, and that's
given where they're going at the moment. They're actually going to be above. We'll have a wage gain,
but only briefly. You think?
I don't even think we will get there. We may have an intersecting point where they touch.
Okay.
But we just can't afford the debt.
But the thing is that either one of these scenarios is bad, right? It's just like,
yes,
it's just,
there's no
what flavor of shit would you like? Neither of these is a good thing. Because if the wages stay higher, then the interest rate's going to stay higher for longer, aren't they?
Correct.
Yeah. But if wages drop and go negative, then house prices drop too.
Correct.
Which is why what we're saying is house prices might be sliding more than tumbling and taking longer, but any which way you cut it, that's where they're headed, is down.
Yeah.
So,
well,
okay. Yeah, I mean, do I want to take your bet? Because that's a bet. That's not just a bet on whether or not Jones is getting fired or not. That's a bet on yeah. It's getting very hard to read. It's like it's almost chaotic out there. I mean, bond yields of just all around the world are just very high, aren't they?
Yeah, 15-year highs. But this is, and actually one of your followers, Santiago, put it very well. He said the closer you get to the vortex, the more chaotic the system is.
Yes.
It was easy back in August of last year to look at all the maths and go, actually, things are not looking good. I mean, if this follows the path that it's currently on, wages will continue to shrink, interest rates will continue to go up, debt will increase for people who try and maintain their lifestyle, and terrible things are going to happen. And that was easy. But now that we're right on it, and this is why I think, because it's become so chaotic, is one of the reasons that I believe that over the next 4 months, as well as the higher interest rates feeding through a whole range of things, I think we're going to see. I'm Grinch. I'm Grinch for Christmas. You can be Santa. I don't mind. That's good. But I just think it's not going to be a very happy Christmas and New Year.
I think it's more you're Eeyore and I'm Tigger.
Oh, well, that's also true.
I saw that.
Do you know how Eeyore I am? Do you want some really bad news that shows you the world is fucked?
Okay.
The first top French restaurant in London, founded by brothers Albert and Michel Roux, Le Garroche, after 65 years, that's numeric dyslexia, is going to close on January of 2024.
Ooh, well, that's probably because they're too old now, right?
No, the son, Michel Roux Jr. has taken over and been running it for years.
And it's closing because
he just can't be fucked.
I don't love cooking. I don't want to cook anymore.
Well, he's 63. He watched his dad and his uncle die during COVID. Not from COVID, just during COVID. And he thought about closing it then because, as he said, it's become so much more difficult now. All prices have gone up. It's really hard to deliver the same quality that you want to the customer. He had to close one of his restaurants at Parliament Square, Roux at Parliament Square, which is a fantastic restaurant.
Right.
But now the flagship, the number one, is going to be gone.
And as far as you're concerned, that's it's game over.
That's game over. If Gavroche closes, if Gavroche is gone, then what the fuck has happened to the world?
Yes. Okay.
As Semois says,
that's an anecdotal argument if I've ever heard one, but But okay, I hear it. So you're saying basically that one way or another, the implosion or explosion or clusterfuck, however you'd like to put it, begins before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then slow motion collateral blowout of the explosion over the following 6 months.
Yeah.
As
Well,
more
yes.
and more companies, just debt bombs go off, the zombies just start dying.
Yes, and that's the frightening thing about the global supply chains we have now, in that we can be impacted by things that are happening in other countries, and we those bombs are sort of chained around the world. So I think it's going to get really messy in the UK before Christmas.
Peter Marshall says, how has the beginning of the clusterfuck not already happened?
Well, that's a bloody good question. Yeah. Partly because at a personal level, the government just handed out shed loads of fucking money during COVID, and gave small businesses massive loans that they would never otherwise have qualified for. And that has helped to prop things up. But also because a lot of companies have not had to refinance yet. You know, it's a bit like the mortgage thing. When interest rates go up, it doesn't impact mortgages immediately. It impacts first-time buyers immediately. But all the people who already have mortgages, they might be on a 2-year or 5-year. It takes a while to work through the system.
Emma Anderson says, I think you underestimate the power of parents' desire to provide a perfect Christmas. Out come the credit cards. January and February will be dicey.
I'm sure you mean by that grandparents, because I think you'll find an awful lot of parents haven't got much cash right now.
Yeah. And XL2828 says, how fucked is the UK in comparison to the rest of the world? The China government and Evergrande stuff is horrific.
Oh, the Western world, we are in many respects, we are less fucked than places like Canada and Australia, certainly from a housing perspective.
Right.
America ought to be triple fucked because they are the ultimate debt monster. I mean, what film was it where Bruce Willis was locked in a basement and bent over with a ball gag in his mouth? What film was that? Yeah, right. America should be Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction. That is the way it should be. And yet, they fuckers seem to get away with it because they had the global reserve currency, at least for the moment.
Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
Dead. Yes, Zed's exactly. Zed's dead.
And yet they're looking rosy, aren't they? They're looking strong, and the economy's strong.
No, they're bloody not.
That's what the news is all saying. That they're actually fine and surprisingly strong. Okay. Yeah. How long have we been going now? 49 minutes. Well, I don't know if we've resolved anything here.
Not really.
No. And what the fuck's happening when I'm the one being more optimistic than you? It's not optimistic. I'm just.
No, it's the whole delay thing. That's the unusual bit.
But it's not. You're the one that says it always takes longer for things to die than you want or than you think is going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is unusual, is that you're the one telling me that I'm being overeager.
I just don't see corporations acting with the financial competence you expect them to have. I mean, it's one of the massive corporations I had a lot of dealings with was Countrywide, the country's biggest estate agent. And I remember meeting them some 8 years before they finally folded and had to be basically delisted and bought out. And I knew in that meeting 8 years before, this country's dead. This company's dead. And then I met a guy who was actually present in their board meetings in 2018 who said to me, yep, fucked, totally fucked. Was his exact words. And it was amazing. There were good people working there. It's just watching it being mismanaged. I don't know. I just don't understand the
Yeah. No, but in 2018, the thing that allowed this shit to go on was the fact that interest rates were 0.5% on average. That's you can't be a bullshitter anymore if you've got a shed load of debt.
Alex J, thank you very much. He's just bought us a few drinks.
Oh, thank you. See, all Alex's very nice. Even Sasha.
Yeah, I would enjoy a conversation with him. He makes me laugh. Whether you agree with him or not, he makes me laugh. He really does. Sasha Yanchin, I'm talking about. Change is coming. He says, £30 super chat. That's a sign we're coming out of recession. We're now out of recession. Monkey Tennis says we don't need any more drinks.
Really?
Yeah. Oh God, it's fun to laugh about it, but there's actually not a lot to be happy about, is there? I just still don't see. I mean, I'd love to consider, just to wrap this up, the last 5 minutes, right? I'd love to consider the possibility that both of us have somehow missed something, and everything.
And we're going for a soft landing.
It's going to be
yes, and we're going to have a soft landing.
Everything's fine, and we're going to look like absolute fuck muppets, just so stupid for having thought all this, and it's going to be fine. And we're going to look really stupid. What have we missed? What have we missed? Like, what if the corporations just somehow keep on finding more money and keep on paying more wages, and the rich are getting richer, and the income inequality gets worse, but nobody cares because no one cares about poor people, right? That's like,
well, hang on, you've got a pretty good audience here,
yeah,
and you've actually got many, because I've talked with quite a few of them, many very financially literate people. Can anyone here think of what we've missed that is going to mean that we end up with a soft landing?
There you are on the screen right now.
David C, Patricia,
energy miracle of nuclear fusion would save the day.
Yeah, but nuclear fusion is not going to be happening.
No, that's not for a while, at least, anyway. Yeah. Popolop says it's only debt. Don't panic. And actually, that's a point worth considering. They just crank up a few more zeros. It's all right. They've already conjured up all this money out of nowhere anyway. What's to stop them doing it some more?
Well, inflation. Oh dear, Patricia, that saddens me when you agree with me. We started our conversations with you disagreeing, and that was fine. That was good because it helped me learn. Okay, I learned about containers in China.
AI driving huge growth. Okay.
Yes, it will drive huge growth and wealth for a very small number of individuals at the top of very large organizations. It will not help your average Joe earn more cash.
Stephen Hawking said, if the machine-produced wealth was shared, there'd be more than enough for everyone to live a luxurious life of leisure.
Correct. 100%. But it will be hoarded by the very few.
I don't see AI creating growth as in physical, constructive, positive growth, other than in profit margins where they lay off tens of thousands of people who aren't needed anymore because AI will take their
correct.
So there'll be some growth in some profits and some bottom lines. I don't see AI creating new value.
Well,
I see it creating efficiencies.
Yes. And can I just say, can we stop calling it AI and fucking call it machine learning, which is what it is?
By the way, thank you very much, super chat, Sarah Evans. 50 AEDs.
Dubai. Hello, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Very, very much appreciated. Good fun. So AI, it's not fucking AI, is it? It's machine learning. It's not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence does not yet exist, hasn't yet been solved, and I'm gonna get punished for this. I know. I think Tesla will be the first company to actually deliver AI.
I can't believe you'd say something like that. So who are you backing in the cage fight between Musk and what's his name?
It's a walkover because Zuckerberg is just saying, no, I don't agree to it. I'm not doing it.
No, you're kidding me.
I'm not joking.
Zuckerberg is actually properly jiu-jitsu fucking trained.
I know.
Whereas Elon's a fat fuck.
Elon
looks like me.
Yeah. And Zuckerberg won't do it. I mean, Elon Musk is saying we are going to raise hundreds of millions for charities.
Yeah.
And Zuck won't do it.
That is a shame because he would kick. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot about Elon that I really quite like. but he does need a kick in the nuts.
So someone's accusing me of being an Elon fanboy. It's never about the individual. It's only about their accomplishments. I'm only ever impressed by someone's accomplishments or achievements.
Oh yeah,
right?
well Elon wins in that. Between Zuckerberg, Elon wins in accomplishments.
Right, that's all I care about. So I am a fan of Elon's accomplishments. That doesn't mean I'm a fan of Elon. Important difference.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that, Charlie, because you like his cars.
I don't.
Oh,
I own a Tesla, but it's like it's impossible to ignore how well it does the job required of it, how cost effectively, how efficiently, and how conveniently, and how well everything works. I mean, my Tesla's done nearly 80,000 miles. I have only had to spend money on tires and one little suspension component that they replaced for free. I had to pay for the part that they for free. In 8,000, no servicing, nothing. It is faster than my RS6. It is 7 times safer than any other car on the road. So it is the safest, fastest, cheapest to run machine. I mean, it saves me thousands of pounds a year in fuel that I've ever owned. So, and I'm a car nut, right? I'm a petrol head. I also have a classic 1980s Mercedes. It's currently fucking broken down. And a 2008 Touareg and a 2013 Golf. And
you own every car.
I would rather drive any of those other 3 cars than the Tesla. Even though it's faster than my RS6 was. It's a device. It's a high functioning, high performing, very efficient device. It is not, I don't love it. My old Mercedes feels like a member of the family. It's like a character, and I love it. But the Teslas, if you want a really cost-effective, really safe, really convenient, really fast car, there's nothing that comes close. I don't like it, but it does it better than anything else. So, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool petrol head. I remember being called a petrol sniffing. See you next Tuesday.
And not for the first time.
No. So, yeah. Anyway, so that is a. But the interesting thing about this is we're talking about AI and whether AI is going to create growth, right? And you're saying it's not fucking AI, and I agree with you, it's not AI yet. And I'm saying that my money is that Tesla will be the first company to actually develop actual AI. But until then, the only AI is actual intelligence, Stig.
No, what you said about AI and efficiencies, I mean, honestly, doctors and consultants now are happy to use machine learning algorithms to diagnose cancer and sepsis because it is better than they are. And they know that. And so in terms of efficiency for people at the top end, for an architect designing a building, to let a specifically programmed and learned, on a good data set machine learning algorithm, check its structural integrity, all this sort of stuff, it can add enormous efficiency. But the problem is, it will mean that one person can do the job of 10.
Yeah.
So there will be a period of time where it's going to make life quite difficult for people who have not learned how to work with machine learning algorithms.
Yes. Yeah. It's like going back in the day when people used to drive a horse and carriage
that was a great skill to be able to drive a horse and carriage. If you were a post,
you didn't need horses anymore, and they were all. It was a redundant skill.
Yep. Like black cab drivers.
I've got to just make this point, right? Someone said, "I'll bet the RS6 is more fun to drive though than a Tesla." It's within 3 months of owning my Tesla, it was brand new in 2020. I drove it from here to Lake Como in Italy to revalidate my seaplane license at the Como seaplane base. And during that drive, I drove up and over the Alps from Switzerland into Italy. And I got into a tangle with not one, but 2 Audi RS4s. And in my non-performance, ordinary family Tesla dual motor, I smoked them both. As in, I came up behind them, I got past them, I left them behind. And this is a proper full-on, we were driving dangerously, right? I mean, beautiful, sunny, dry day. I remember coming down the road and thinking, oh, I've overcooked this. I'm going too fast. There's no way I'm slowing down in time for that roundabout. And it just did. It performed. It didn't feel as solid and as quality, but it it's just the torque, right? The electric motor punches you out of a corner faster than a petrol one does. So is it more fun to drive? It was fun beating those RS4s, I have to admit.
You're a bad man, which is why I cannot believe that you've only spent money on tires. If you're telling me you haven't replaced brakes and brake discs, because you must have melted a few.
So the brake, I've warped my front discs.
Yeah.
Okay. I have warped my front discs, but I haven't the pads. I thought no, because 90% of the braking is electromagnetic, recharging, regenerative.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh God, I didn't know
I'm
that.
still on the original brake pads.
No, after 80,000 miles.
I'm on the original brake pads. I have changed nothing except for one suspension component that they just charged me 80 quid for the part, and they came to my house and fitted it for free. And that's only because I was over the 50,000 mile warranty at that point. Get in that car and go, and you can do. There's no waiting for the engine to warm up. It is more convenient and faster and better at its job than any other car I've ever owned, but I don't like it. People struggle with that. It's like, you know, I would much rather have bought a German car with German build quality, but also without a Tesla supercharging network, you can't fucking drive them very far.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry. Yes, this is not a Tesla video. Right, guys, should we call it?
Yeah, I have. There is no decision. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen next year? This year, next year?
So I have failed to change your mind, because that was actually the, if you remember, that was.
No, you have very much failed. Do you remember back in August last year when everyone laughed at me when I said that interest rates would get to between 5% and 6%?
That's what I said.
Yeah,
right. That was the thumbnail.
Do you remember when they laughed? And now I've got people giving me a hard time, saying, "God, 5 to 6%, much higher than that, much higher. You're so wrong. No, it's incredible how wrong you are. They're going to be over 8%. We've got to beat core inflation by at least a percentage point before we manage to reduce it." So I've had it at both ends of the spectrum, and quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. I still think it is possible that rates could get to 7%. But I think it's very unlikely given the stress that would put on the rest of our economy because of the debt that we are in. And I do think that 6 is probably the terminal rate. We shall see.
You think
I'm
6%
happy.
break stuff, don't you?
No, I think anything over 3.5% break stuff once it's worked through. 3.5% was the last tolerable rate. 5.5% kills zombies dead. 6.5%.
And that's happening next month, right?
Yep. 6.5% kills the country in terms of sovereign debt crisis.
All right. And you don't think we're going to get to 6.5% because you think the economy is going to implode before then?
Correct. I think what will happen is we'll get to 6 maybe, and the Bank of England will go, we're taking a pause now to see what happens. And by the time they've paused and things have worked through, everything goes bang. Emma, I did say 6%, and I'm still sticking with, I actually said between 5 and 6%. And obviously, we're now past 5.25 and about to go to 5.5, and I'll stick with that.
Cookie Monster has made a point. I didn't buy my Tesla because I was worried about the environment. If I was worried about the environment, I would not have bought a Tesla. The carbon footprint of manufacturing a Tesla is like double the carbon footprint of a normal new car.
Yes, you have to drive it for another 50,000 miles.
I bought it because it's fast as... I mean, it's so fast, it's stupid. It is so fast. And I haven't even got a performance one. It's 0 to 60 is 4.2 seconds or something. It's like, what? In my family 5-seat Tesla, it's so fast. And it was just, I do so many miles and I tend to have a heavy foot. And it used to cost me so much money in diesel. So I bought it because I was so sorry to save money.
Sorry, so much money in diesel, but also in speeding tickets.
No, the speeding tickets were a fraction of the cost of the diesel. Speeding tickets were like a tip compared to my fuel But you know, yeah,
Alexandra,
what?
I have to answer Alexandra because it's another Alex.
Yeah.
Digital currency, the earliest CBDCs could be introduced, as far as I can see, simply because of the IT infrastructure that needs to be put in place in terms of data centers and also the coding of them, would be 2030. I cannot see them before then. And even then, they would not be stable and able to be rolled out to the whole of the general public. There'd be in a test, a trial phase.
Not looking forward to that. No, I didn't. Sorry. Tractor Shed says diesel RS6. No, I had an RS6 a while back. Then when I got into aeroplanes, I didn't need very fast cars, so I went to a Touareg diesel. This is an important question on the screen here, Alex. What about house prices? If the economy goes bang?
Well, if the economy goes bang, therefore there will be redundancies, wages will fall, and if wages fall, house prices fall. I mean, that's simple. Yeah, they go down.
Yes, I know it's really bad. Someone is Alex J. That's quite creepy. How did you know I had a 2003 RS6? I've had two. I had a brand new RS6 in 2003, and then I had a second-hand 2003 RS6, and then in 2009 I had briefly a V10 RS6, the new one, and that was insanely fast until I got my Tesla. Okay, right.
Charlie, quick one.
Yeah.
Because you've done a lot of software projects.
Yes, I have.
I've done a lot of infrastructure projects. Jamie Brown is saying that very much overestimating those dates. I don't know of many secret data centers owned by the government where they can hold our entire wealth for the country, that they are secured by the SAS recently. But anyway, what's your view on software being built in the next 6 years?
Yeah, one of my best friends had a flatmate who was in charge of that NHS IT upgrade back in the early 2000s. I think it was 13 billion. It was written off.
Yes, it was to get the trust together. And do you know what it was primarily? It was a Microsoft Exchange email system. I got drafted in to do one of the trusts.
So on the one hand, the incompetence is just breathtaking. The incompetence at the expense of the taxpayer is government IT facilities is breathtaking. Having said that, the Gov website has got much better, and a lot of stuff you can now do actually works and functions, and I'm quite impressed with some of the stuff.
A friend of mine wrote that stuff. Actually, she is the Scrum Master for the development team who did that stuff.
Okay.
And it pains me that she works for HMRC.
Yeah.
Yet, the work on the .gov has been fantastic.
It has, hasn't
it? She worked for me at London Clinic.
Right. Well, there we are. That's I'm glad we agree on those two things.
Yeah, they're much better.
I mean, there are certain things about digital currency that's just quite straightforward.
Yeah, sorry. It's the transaction volumes that make it difficult. And the fact, this is not something you can roll back. This is not your average e-commerce transactional database. You know, what we're talking about here is the nation's wealth. So you have the physical side to it in terms of security, the digital side, and then you have to code something, which I agree is not that difficult, depending on what restrictions you want to put on it. But you have to code something which you can use from your wallet to a standard EPOS system, because you're not going to replace all of the cash readers, card readers that restaurants, etc. have. You need it to integrate.
Okay, so Semois makes the point, Visa do it.
Yes, and how long have Visa had? Since 1967 to build that network.
Right, so the point is it's been done. There are people who've done it and know how to do it.
Yes, but they will start from scratch because it's the government.
Well, okay, yeah, I take that point.
And then they will need to test it very, very carefully.
No, but hang on, you're making the assumption that the British government's going, right, let's start from scratch. And you're making the assumption that there isn't, behind the scenes, your favorite expression, the deep state.
No, not mine. That's Nick. I am not a deep state person.
No, you're not. I was being sarcastic. That actually there isn't some kind of framework already in place, ready to roll out to any government that wants it.
No, and no, and if there were, you would have seen it. And this is the problem: is you don't see it. People who have tried to build CBDCs on blockchain, for instance, in Nigeria, the e-naira, fucking waste of time. Can't use blockchain. Everyone.
Yeah, I saw you comment about this. Blockchain can't handle large transaction volumes. Is that right?
No, it's fucking shit. We will not have a CBDC on blockchain. I don't know how many crypto monkeys I've had to talk to about this. Jesus God, I've only spent 25 fucking years in IT for people to try and lecture me who have literally just played around with Windows. And by the way, c'est moi, I'm well aware that a Scrum Master does not code. She was one of my coders, took her exams whilst working for me, and is now a Scrum Master for HMRC. So,
well, Jamie Byrne agrees with you that that CBDC would not be built on blockchain.
No, of course it bloody won't. And yet the crypto bros are going, no, it's okay. You can use Ripple, XRP. You're like, oh, fuck off.
Right. So what's your expectation time-wise? You did say it.
I think 2020, realistically, to have something that they are willing to roll out to the public for their real money, their hard-earned money to be spent on and saved, 2030. I cannot see it happening faster than that. This is a government organization. It will run as slowly as, well, me, technically. Which after 2 bottles of wine, I've got to tell you, is not very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to think about it, to be honest. I just like that. Just it's a whole other conversation.
It is.
CBDCs.
Although I've got to answer 0 ahead now because I'm going to blow somebody's mind. Once CBDCs exist, all cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, despite what many Bitcoin bros tell me, will cease to exist. Simply because you need to use a store of wealth is a wonderful thing, but only if you can reach into the store and actually spend it on something real. And if you can't spend it, and that by that I mean exchange it into the country's CBDC, then what's the fucking point? And the government will give you a period of time where you can get them exchanged. It'll be fantastic. You're allowed to do that. And then they will say, well, that's fine. You can exchange, but 30% tax. And cryptocurrencies will die a natural death if CBDCs are implemented.
Right. And I have another wacky theory, which is that there might be a black market physical currency.
Physical currency?
Yeah. Analog.
It's not cigarettes for bog roll, is it?
No, I can see some sort of physical token.
We're going to start carving stones and fish bones again.
Yeah, but they might have RFID or something. I don't know.
Then they can be tracked.
Okay, so not RFID, but they might have, do you know what I mean? Some kind of physical fingerprint or serial number or something that's not centralized. That obviously has to be forgeable.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, there's a big argument that says analog is one of the only safe ways for all kinds of things, communications and stuff like that.
I think Cookie Monster has got the correct answer at 2244.57.
Yeah, I see him.
That's, I'm afraid that
yeah,
that's pretty much the only currency you're going to be able to barter.
Yeah. The trouble is that's the problem with that is it's eminently thievable. And
well, that depends on how much you feed.
Stealable. It's stealable. And what I'm talking about is a kind of weird physical analog thing that also can't be stolen. It's just it's a theory. It's a long way off, right? But if someone comes up with that, that will be a problem for CBDCs.
Oh, quick one for Aaron Hughes.
Yep.
No, gold will not go up yet. You need to wait for the recession where everything crashes and people run to gold as a safe haven. Right now, gold will be about even or dropping. I haven't actually looked at gold for the last 3 or 4 months because this is not the time. It's not a bad time to buy it. If you think everything is going to go pear-shaped as I've suggested, then it would go up, just as silver will go up, all the precious metals. But right now...
Alexander Jones says, can Charlie and Alex stop talking about Jones being fired, please?
Sorry, another Alex as well. I'm so sorry.
And Alex Jones as well. Jones, get rid of him, yeah.
It's Smith. It's Smith. Smith who got fired, not Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. Trouble is when you got
somewhat correct.
If CBDC is going to possibly be an authoritarian state, you can forget about holding government to account. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole right. We're not going to go there. Right. I'm calling it. This has been great fun, Alex. Really good fun. Really relaxed, shooting the breeze, shooting the shit. I like it. But it's unresolved because I haven't changed your mind that I think so. So you're saying that you think wage growth will be below inflation by January.
Yeah. By Christmas, on Christmas Day, you will open the present and see that your wages are actually, your real wages are lower than they were because they have not beaten inflation.
And what is the wager on this wages thing? What is our wager? What's the market? How are we pricing this? What's the penalty? What's the forfeit? We need to have, I don't know. Maybe we should think about this off camera, but yeah, maybe as Augustus Princip says, they're very, very drunk. I'm not as drunk as I was. I had one glass of Prosecco and one empty can of beer, and I texted Anne-Marie and said, I've run out of, can you bring me another? She went, no, I'm in bed.
Charles, I'd like to tell you that we were there and there's matchsticks, and I've had 2 bottles of Brianna now. Well, and so I would just like to say, we were walking through the jungle, and surprise, quite by surprise, it was a woolly mammoth. But I must admit, I was very, very drunk.
It's completely covered in hair.
Hair. I loved that character. The Fast Show was very good.
Brilliant. Mate, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope it's been entertaining for you. It's been great fun for us. Oh
my God, Gina B. What about hey, Santa Claus, where's
Kevin Bloody Wilson. You can stick that fucking phone up your
fucking ass. You're supposed to help me out, not make it fucking hard. We used to listen to that at fucking prep school.
I remember it was brilliant. Guys, if you're too young to know what we're talking about, look up Kevin Bloody Wilson.
Oh yeah, I just have to do this line because of Christmas.
Yeah, go on.
Because of Christmas. You're a piss tank and a pervert. And you're not even very bright. You stupid fucking wanker. You forgot me fucking bike. He's so good.
Yeah. I was absolutely.
You wanted me
just go
to
and find Kevin Bloody Wilson on YouTube and thank us next time, guys.
I wanted to hold your tits. Oh God, and I've cut me pants again.
I can't believe you went there. I was going to go there. Oh, dearie me. He was very, very funny. Oh.
He was hilarious.
Yeah. Right. Good night, everyone.
That's the bet.
What?
He's still touring in England. He comes to England and plays concerts.
Still.
So, yes, whoever loses buys the other couple tickets to a Kevin Bloody Wilson concert.
Whoever loses buys 4 tickets to a Kevin Bloody Wilson concert.
Oh, we all go. Yeah, I love it. Yes, perfect.
That's an amazing one. Brilliant. Fantastic. Love it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. It's been really good fun.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you to everyone who gave cash. Yeah. That's just fucking fantastic.
Yeah, Zero Head says Charlie wants to go to bed. Yes. Well, if I can't have alcohol here, because Anne-Marie won't bring it to me, I'll go to Anne-Marie and then see what we can do for the nation's population crisis.
You already have 3 kids. You bastard.
Not enough, is it? It's not enough.
It's not enough. No, you've got to make up for
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Because my man Elon says there's going to be a population collapse globally. So got to do my,
Well, there
do my
is.
bit, you know? Yeah.
Well, apart from Africa, he's not wrong.
No, exactly. Right, I'm clicking end stream. Good night, everyone. See you soon.
Good night.
Bye-bye.